Okay. So why me? So I work for a company called EnviroServices and Training Center. We are an environmental engineering and consultant firm located on Ward in Queens. And EnviroServices serves as the master consultant to DOT highways on Oahu specifically to comply with their MS4 permit. So Brenda obviously went through a lot of the basics of what these permits are and why we have them. Yeah. But our primary job for them is basically to support them with their compliance within their permit and then to help them with their stormwater management program and plan. So that's a picture of the permit. If no one has ever seen it, that's the MS4 permit. And it covers discharges of stormwater runoff from the MS4 and 5 base yards on the island of Oahu. And this permit is primarily, well, it is managed by the Environmental Management Section at DOT. They're located in Waimalu. He's hiding in the back. He's probably not happy I'm going to do this, but I wanted to show you, put a face to who runs the program. So Rodney all the way in the back there with Lay. That's Rodney Gerard. He's the engineer for this section here, and the man running, all the programs here for the stormwater management program. I was gonna also introduce Keith, but he's not in here. But he runs the construction section of this program. So just trying to put some faces to names. You might see them on emails or whatnot. So yeah. So this is the stormwater management plan. There's a lot of different program elements, not just the construction program. That's primarily why we are here today, because for the construction program, we have to provide an annual training for BMP and stormwater related activities. So today, those are the two we're going to go over. But just so you folks have a overview of it all, this is everything that Rodney and his group manage. So this is the breakdown of the construction program and the permit for the MS4 permit. So the permittee shall implement a construction site management program to reduce to the maximum extent practicable the discharge of pollutants from both private and public construction projects. Not sure if everyone knows, but primarily a lot of the guys here are on the public side of this. So that means anything funded by DOT generally is what public projects or contract projects means. And then we have encroachment or private projects. So that's, say someone wants to do a new driveway, it's encroaching within the right of way. They'll have to go to the permits office to get a permit. So that's kind of the difference between the two. So we'll go over these one by one quickly. I know this is a dry topic. I apologize. Not too many pictures, but I'll do my best. I have 3 prizes for you guys. So I got 3 questions at the end. So it'd be good to pay attention enough. Also, all of us, we help plan this conference, and I got 3 points for the leaderboard as well. So if you guys are getting competitive with that, yeah. So this is the first part of the permit. So so the requirement is to implement BMPs and standards in accordance to the policies and the list of resources there. So we have the standard specs that I'm sure many, if not all of you, are aware of. That's the DOT standard specifications for road and bridge constructions, the brown book. Probably all have digital copies at this point, but and then we have our construction BMP field manual, maintenance activities, and post-construction BMPs. For us, so these are the main sections of the standard specs that are important for the construction program. The main one is the first one highlighted, 209. That was recently updated in January of 2022. And that's pretty much the rules of all public projects, private projects. So anything to do with construction, site runoff, that's the one to look at. And if you haven't seen this before, this is our BMP manual, our construction BMP manual. So this was updated in October 2021. And this is just I provided some links to where you can find this. So stormwaterhawaii.com not only has our construction program stuff, but all program elements on there. And then we also have a BMP training website, which is specifically to the construction program. That one it has all the resources you need for permit regs, manuals, handouts to assist you with like tips for staging areas and that kind of stuff. And then there's a wiki site for HDOT personnel on construction projects. That one they recently updated, I think within the last few months. So if you are on a project, you can reach out to the e-construction staff and they can get you registered and set up. So. And I just wanted to show you what the website kind of looks like. That's the front page. So if you ever do go there, there's like 40 views a year, but if you do get there, that's what it looks like. Okay, so next part, inventory of construction sites. So another thing we do is we have to manage both the private and public side of things. Roughly, there's about 100 projects in total that we're having to manage and track. It's a little bit different on both sides. So on the public side of things, there's roughly about 20 to 30 DOT projects active at any time on Oahu. We use a system called Maximo. It's an asset management database that we are able to track all this type of information. So project number, the status of review for like SWIPs and stuff like that. Inspection dates, so that's primarily third-party inspections. So for you on projects, you probably know Angie. That's our third-party inspector for the public projects. And then any enforcement, so any LDs that are assessed or any complaints, stuff like that, we keep that also in Maximo, as well as if the project, which most public projects have a issued general permit for construction discharge. Yeah, so that's Appendix C. I'll go over a little bit more of that a little later. So that's just to define for you, that's how it's defined in the SWAMP, the Stormwater Management Plan. So we have public and private. Like I said, public, main thing is it's funded by them. They're responsible. And then private is the other side of things. So they are not funded or responsible for anything in regards to the project itself. And those projects, as I said, they need to obtain a permit to perform work. So that's what that looks like right there on the left side. And you also have to submit a BMP plan application to the permits office if you're going to be doing any work within the right of way for your personal use. Yeah. And I just wanted to note this because this is something we have a hard time keeping track of is the initial inspections. So if you do get issued a permit to perform work within the right of way, first thing you need to do is email BMP Highways Hawaii. That's those two guys right there. They manage that account. So Hayden and Krista, that's why I have them in here as well. They're our private side inspectors, so you'll probably see them out there as well. Okay. Third one is plan review. So that's SWIPs and the checklists. So just to quickly go through the permit language. Prior to the commencement of construction, they need to have a reviewed SWIP from DOT. If we go a little further into that, any public project needs to have a approved SWIP from HDOT prior to any ground disturbing activity. Yeah. And that doesn't count the ground disturbance of installing the BMPs themselves. Yeah. So number two is require a permit of written approval for drainage connections to the MS4 discharges into the MS4. So that's that permit I just showed you there, permit to perform work. We also have a discharge and connection permit, or DOT, sorry. And right there. So not allow construction to commence on any private or public construction project unless and until it has verified that the project has received from DOH and NGPC. So the NGPC Appendix C is generally what we see on the projects. That's for construction discharge. We always want to make sure that any project disturbing over an acre will trigger that permit. And then lastly, to have a checklist to review your SWIPs and your plans. So these are the three general permits that we usually typically see on public construction projects. So we have Appendix C, which is for construction activities. We have Appendix F for hydro testing, and we have Appendix G for dewatering. Yeah. So if you have any of those activities on your public projects or any project, make sure to submit your application to DOH for your permit. So this is the two SWIPs, or our two plans here, DOTs. So there's a SWIP, which is a stormwater pollution prevention plan, and we have a checklist for that, as well as a site-specific BMP plan. So we call it a SSBMP plan. The difference, if you have a permit, so if you're disturbing over an acre and you have a Appendix C permit, you're gonna have to fill out the SWIP. Gets pretty long. It's like 200 pages at the end of it. Not sure how much people really read it, but they're developed and approved. And then we have our SSBMP plan. So that's for anything not disturbing over an acre and doesn't trigger the Appendix C, right? And that's just to show you for reference what the checklist looks like. So it's a good tool. I mean, if you got to develop a SWIP, you can just use this, go down the line, check off each element, and make sure you get everything you need on there. Okay, inspections. This is kind of what everyone's here for, probably. So like I said, any site needs to have some third-party inspector. So for public, we have Angie Makadangdang. She is from Bowers and Kubota. She's probably listening in. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to attend because UH is playing in Las Vegas and they're doing good. So she wanted to make sure she go watch. So I get it. I get it. And then, like I said, these guys over here are for the private side. Okay, so in addition to inspections required by the MPDS permit, all contract and maintenance construction projects shall be inspected at least monthly. So that's Angie. And then all construction projects with a permit to perform work, a connection permit or discharge permit shall be inspected at least once annually or once during the life of the project. So a lot of times these private projects, it's like new gas line, sewer, new driveway, maybe. So these things only last a month or two, if that. So a lot of times we're just inspecting this once throughout the year, which is why it's really important for the contractor to email us to let us know that they're starting so we can do that inspection before they finish up. Okay, so these are the requirements for the third party on the public projects. So they must be inspected once a month by an inspector or an engineer who's not on the day-to-day operations. And for those of you who conduct the weekly inspections, that's a totally different thing, right? That's required by the Appendix C permit. So these inspections that Angie does, the third-party inspector, is primarily for this program here. And there are ways to reduce your frequency of inspections. So that's the way to do it. So you got 3 successive months of 0 critical or major deficiencies, or less than 6 minor deficiencies, and no more than 3 in one inspection. So if you get all those, you can move to quarterly. Most people have a hard time getting to that. but yeah, we always put our best foot forward and try to get there. And this is what happens if you get to quarterly and then don't do too hot in the next month. So if, say you move to quarterly, your next month inspection, you had a critical or a major deficiency, or you had more than three minor deficiencies identified by the third-party inspector, then we move back to monthly. There are also some exceptions. So if like a significant new element of work starts, or if they open up a new phase of the project, then we just start on the monthly again for that area. So there is the definitions to the three deficiencies. Yeah. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Critical is, it's critical. Stuff's going in the drain or the water, right? I'll go to the minor one first. So the minor one is like, you know, those bio socks, or people call them sausages. Yeah, if they got like holes in them or something, that's a minor. And then a major could be, usually has to do with hazardous waste management. So they may not have secondary containment. Things may not be properly implemented as it shows on their plans, stuff like that. So this is the corrective action times for third-party inspections. So for Angie's inspections only. Yeah. So if it's a critical, they need to just correct it as quickly as possible. Usually, and then we'll need to let DOH know that day as well. So you have to give them a call, and then you'll have to submit a report through their e-permitting portal once the case is closed. Yeah. And then for the minor and major deficiencies, it's 5 calendar days to correct any deficiencies. Usually the process for that is Angie will send you her report with her photo log, any photo that calls out, or also in the report that calls out deficiencies. You want to send her a photo of the correction as well as the description of what you did to correct it. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, there's one other thing I wanted to point out. So sometimes on projects, they'll do their weekly inspections required by the Appendix C permit at the same time as a monthly with Angie. If you do that, you have to abide by the more stringent time frame. So on your weekly inspections, they're much more stringent. Like minor repairs, you have to correct that day, at the end of the day. Any major thing that like you got to bring in new erosion and sediment controls, right, and reinstall, that's 7 days. So it's much different than this corrective action for third parties. So just be aware if you do have those inspections on the same day. Okay, so these are just general things to point out. Just things that we see throughout the year. Just wanted to highlight since we have everyone in front of us. So some just real general basic rules. Whatever's on site needs to be reflected on the plan. The plan needs to be approved first before you have anything on site. So if you're gonna open up a new staging area, we're gonna want to amend the plan, get it approved by DOT prior to actually implementing it on site, right? I know sometimes, you know, things happen, construction is very fluid, so you just work with the DOT engineer and just make sure they're on board and aware, right, of everything, all the changes happening on site. BMP installation phasing, that's another big one recommended. So a lot of these DOT construction projects are linear, stretches miles and miles and miles. Phasing, so chop it up. It helps everyone because you only have to install your BMPs and be responsible for that specific section, right? Then you can close it up, move on to the next. It's a little cleaner. I'm not going to name the project, but we have a really big project DOT has right now, and the phasing was a little off. So it's a 5-mile project, and we had to walk the whole thing. Took us about 4 hours. Yeah, I was complaining quite a bit. It was hot too. But yeah, so that's all in the front end of the project, right? So plan it out, chop it up. It'll make your life easier, I promise. And then layered effect. So inlet protection is not your only one. You don't want it to really receive any discharge like dirty water, sedimentation, right? So we want to do a layered effect. So put erosion control on the slopes, right? Prevent that from discharging. Any disturbed area, we want to put perimeter control over in the site. And hopefully all of those in the site relieve the inlet protection from doing what it has to do, right? Ideally, we don't want to get to that point. So, and then this is just amendments. So if you have any amendments, got to make changes on the field, make sure you get it approved by DOT through your SWIP amendment prior to implementing. And then also if you're going to remove, so if we're stabilizing an area, right, closed it up, it's 70% grown in, we can pull the temporary BMPs. We just want to indicate that in the amendment so that we just know when things are happening. Yeah, and then this is just another note. So the contractor dictates means and methods. So when you write your plans, it's good to be a little more general. Like don't say I'm using biosocks. You know what I mean? Like just say perimeter control measures, and that will kind of give you some flexibility on your use, yeah, on what you use. Oh, I didn't put that. Okay. Anyway, so this is the last one. Enforcement. So DOT has a ERP. It's called the Enforcement Response Plan, and that dictates what happens if you're not in compliance. So that's all the rules. There's a table 2-1 in there. That's what dictates your corrective action timeframes that I was talking about, like minors. You got to correct the day of, that thing for your weeklies. That's in there, as well as the stages of enforcement. So basically, the first one is verbal notification. You're out of compliance, please, blah, blah, blah. If that doesn't work, then it escalates to the next step. So we send out a DOT sends out a letter, like, you're out of compliance, please correct this by this time. If that doesn't go well, it just keeps going up until we get to fines, and we may have to get DOH involved and that sort of thing. So that's in there. Yeah. Lastly, training. So in this program for construction, they're required to provide an annual training to all DOT staff with construction stormwater responsibilities, including engineers, designers, inspectors, contractors, plan reviewers. Yeah. So that's why we're here. So every year for this program, we also run this conference. It's been different throughout the years for sure. I started in 2018 doing this, and we were at about 500 people in person. Today we're at like 250, so it's a good amount of people. And then COVID hit, and we went all virtual. And we got to like 600 people all virtual, and then yeah, it's been fluid. But now we can do hybrid, and everyone can come in, get free plants. Did anyone win? Oh, lame. Lame. Yeah, so just wanted to show you some pictures of, that was last year. We were at the Kroc Center. Here we go, if you were paying attention. Hey, go ahead. Look, I didn't even ask the question. What is it?
Enforcement response plan?
Yes, I shouldn't have put the question right after the slide. You're right. You're right. Okay, you get one of those towels, and then come see me after I got the points. Okay, it's on my phone. All right. First one to raise their hand. Next one. What is the requirement to decrease third-party inspection frequencies on public projects? This one is a long one. So.
Okay. No critical or major deficiencies. No more than 6 minors, and no more, No more than 3 in 1 month. No, 3 minors in 1 month.
Very good. That's the one. Well done. Didn't you win the basket last year? Yeah, I remember seeing your picture. Oh. Okay, and the last one. What is the corrective action time frame for major deficiencies on public projects for third-party inspections? How many days? Wonderful. 5 calendar days. And just to put another note on that, you probably want to do your inspections earlier in the week. So we don't got to go in on the weekends, right? You don't want to do that. So